Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, we're going to talk about this Redfin article. Home sellers face an absolutely brutal market that's tilting in buyers' favor. It says there are 500,000 more home sellers across the U.S. than buyers. Redfin says in a new report, we're going to go dig into the data. All this is coming from their article. We just took everything from the article. And as you can imagine, the article doesn't necessarily match the headline. But before we jump into this, because we have like a ton of charts and cool stuff that we have for this, Juana, what's the new deal we have that the viewers absolutely love about our channel now? Why should they all subscribe and watch the videos as fast as possible?
Okay, so Todd's new deal is better than FDR's new deal.
Yeah.
So Todd's new deal is that if you watch the video within the first 48 hours after he posts the video, there will not be any commercials. After 48 hours, he may or may not remember to turn the commercials back on. But in the first 48 hours, he will not turn the commercials on. So you get to watch us in all of our glory minus commercials. So please remember to watch the videos right away, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, leave us real estate related comments, and off we go with the video.
If you're watching this as soon as it launches, you have like 3 hours to watch the previous video before I turn on the commercial. So if it's Saturday before 3 p.m. Pacific, you can jump over to the other video and watch it.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to jump into this article. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the quotes. So what they did is they cherry-picked two people. Somebody selling in Florida and then somebody selling in North Carolina. So what I'll do is I'll put them up, read them. But what we have is the actual data in those markets. Mm-hmm. And then we have some other data overall. So the first one is this. Now remember, these are anecdotal, so they don't really prove anything. They just prove that they could pick somebody and make a thing. The chart we're going to go over is a chart that's been going around social media. It's blowing up social media. That's not actually an accurate chart. We'll show why. Okay. Ryan Sparks has been trying to sell his mom's house in Jupiter, Florida for the past 6 months. Sparks was in college when his parents purchased home in 1997.
Okay, so that's about, what, 28 years ago?
28 years ago, but his father, a general contractor, passed away. His mother moved into assisted living. The home was paid off. That's a key thing. It was paid off. But taxes, utility bills are about $2,000 a month, so he doesn't want to move into the house. Mom doesn't want to move in the house, so he said, hey, I'll just sell it, right? So he listed the house for $1.15 million. He's had a price reduction, and it's only received one lowball offer of $800,000. Now, what they're trying to paint here, Juana, is that obviously whatever he listed for like $1.4 million or $1.35, that was obviously what it was worth, right?
So no, that's aspirational pricing, right? The issue that we run into is people want a certain amount of money for whatever reason, either because they want to be the highest sale in their neighborhood, or they've got their eye on something else, and so they think that they require that money to do whatever the other thing is, or they just want that amount of money for whatever reason.
Or some real estate.
But whatever that reason that somebody wants that amount of money for their property, that has no bearing, zero, on the value of the property. Okay, so please understand the difference. What you want has nothing to do with the actual value of the property. The value is what a buyer is willing to pay and a seller is willing to accept. So the fact that you want this many bananas, that's great, but buyers do not see the same amount of value in the property as you do, so they will offer what they feel the value for the property is. Now in this case, we know that he priced the property well over $1 million. We know that he got an offer for 800 or 800 and change. So that's a pretty big gap. Now the question is, what's the actual value of the property? Well, the value of the property is not what he priced it at. It's probably not even what the price reduction's at. The value of the property is probably something different. Not necessarily the 800, but something different. The other thing to keep in mind is he listed the property, in April?
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't say.
Okay. So, but he hasn't been on
November.
The market in November. Okay, so he listed the property in November. That's kind of telling, because he's been on the market for so long. So he's been on the market for 6 months, 7 months, and he's only done one price reduction, and
he's only had one offer.
And he's only had
so
one
it's
offer.
overpriced.
Right.
Okay.
So we know that when when homes do not receive offers, they're overpriced because, again, there's a chasm between the value that buyers see and the price of the property. And people are not really willing to waste their time on properties that are overpriced. They'd rather go look at properties that are priced pretty close to market value so they can negotiate something that makes sense.
Okay. He says this is a ridiculous offer, but this is funny. He said he's now deciding whether to sell now and potentially regret it if prices go up. So he's acknowledging prices could go up. Here's the other thing. He doesn't want to cut the price anymore. We're reaching the bottom where we think we can go. Alternatively, we would see if it's worth trying to rent the house out for a year, then sell it again a year from now, see if the market might be better. Despite the dire market, he's optimistic about the house's prospects due to location with backs up to preserve and waterway. So maybe overestimated how much that was people were willing to pay for that. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have to sell. So this is like, it's not like he has to sell. He's just going to keep cutting the price. He's admitting I got a bottom. And the market does have a number of homes where people don't have to sell, though. If they get their number, they'll sell it. If not, they're not going to sell it, right?
So I always find it interesting. People say, well, my house is worth this many bananas because it backs up to this or backs up to that. In his case, he backs up to a waterway. Okay, personally, I would not buy a house that backs up to a waterway because that means mosquitoes and I'm going to get bitten. So that's my thing. Lots of people tell me, well, I back up to a road, but isn't it wonderful that I don't have a neighbor behind me? Well, not so much. Maybe people would prefer a neighbor behind them rather than traffic behind their house. So everybody's got a different way that they judge value. And that's something to really keep in mind, that you have to find the right buyer who has the same sensibilities as you do and sees the same value in the property as you do in order to get the price that you want.
What's interesting about this is I went and pulled up the Altos Research data for Jupiter, Florida, which is very accurate. And if you can see here, the market action index is 31, slight seller's advantage. So it's not a completely horrendous market. They're just, they've had a hot market for the last 4 years and it's kind of back to a normal market. So you can see on the little graphic over there on the left versus buyer's market, seller's market, it's basically a normal market. Very slight price decline from the real-time market profile. Some time on the market, median on the market. So half the houses took 77 days to sell. Obviously, in a market like that, you can't be overpriced.
Right.
117 is the average days on market, which is not unrealistic. That's just 3 months and change. And it's not a huge market. They only have 428 houses on the market. But what's interesting is you see it declined in the last couple weeks. The total number of houses on the market actually declined in Jupiter. So first of all, this is one anecdotal story. And they try to paint like the whole country is going through this, which is not true. So here's the next story from the article. Elsewhere in the South, remember the South is a little bit weaker than it was the last 4 years. Anna and Austin Braxic have also been having a hard time selling his home in Charleston, North Carolina, since they first listed the property mid-April. God, it's been a whole month and it hasn't sold. That's incredible. They should just, after a month, Juana, if you haven't sold your house, it should just be $1. And anyone can just pay it. Whoever says $1 first gets the house, right?
Exactly.
Because obviously it's not worth anything. They've cut the asking price by $50,000. Okay, the Braxips have offered a rate buy down to buyers to sweeten the deal, agreeing to pay cash up front to reduce the mortgage rate. We're just not seeing the traffic down here in Charlotte. 4 or 5 months ago, the house would have gone in a weekend. But it was that hot, but it slowed down big time. It's absolutely brutal right now. It's brutal. Juana, what are the odds? We're going to show the market data for this market, and you're going to find out, like, these guys have got to be like Gen Zs or something because it's so brutal. We should have sold it 2 days, but it's taken a month. We're going to show the market data. But Juana, what's likely happened here? When they thought the house would sell instantly, what do you think they did with the initial price?
Well, they probably reconsidered it and adjusted it. But the question is, did they adjust it sufficiently to meet market value?
Right. Okay. Here's the story on Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a seller's market still, slight seller's advantage. Median list price has gone up. Price of new listings has gone up a little bit. Price per square foot's still going up. Median days on market's 35. They've only been listed 35 days. So they're complaining that they haven't sold yet. And inventory's climbing a little, but it's still a pretty decent market there. It's like still a seller's market. They're just complaining that it was hotter before, so they overpriced the house and offered these, we'll overprice the house and we'll offer some, lender's fees. But if you're paying cash, you don't care about those. And the bottom line is if the house was priced right, it would have sold. But this is another thing where they're saying it was absolutely brutal. And the market action is 43, which is like seller's market.
Right. We also don't know anything about the house, right? Is it, a 3-bedroom, no bath? I mean, there's that too, right? There is the consideration of how appealing is the house, how likely it is that it has wide appeal to buyers.
Okay, here's the chart that Redfin put in their article. It's got everybody all upset. It's been shared on social media like crazy the last couple days. It states there are nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers. So first thing we're going to talk about is the chart itself is visually misleading because the bottom is 1.4 million. So it looks like there's no buyers, zero, but it says 1.4 million. How do they know exactly how does Redfin know how many buyers there are? Does it call every real estate to say how many buyers you're working with?
No, they have the magic 8-ball and they shake it up, and I don't know how they know that. And I think the methodology is suspect. I think that the thing to look at is it doesn't really matter what the numbers are. I think what's relevant is the spread. And so when you're looking at the spread, meaning the difference between the number of buyers and the number of sellers. So the last time it looked like this was 2015. Now in 2015, there was also this supposed half a million buyer seller spread. And in 2015, what did we have? Well, we didn't have prices that went down, they went up.
Yep.
In 2015, we had a smaller population in the US than we do in 2025. Regardless of what you think our population is, we can all agree that our population has grown. So just that in and of itself would lead you to believe that there is a higher demand for housing today. Now we know that in 2015, we were still short homes as far as when you looked at the number of people looking to get into a home and household formations, we were still short then, and we know that that shortage has done nothing but grow over the past decade. So again, that would lead you to believe that the demand for housing is greater today than it was in 2015, and yet we still have the same spread of 500,000 people. So I don't see a huge issue as far as the number of sellers versus buyers, meaning that there are too many sellers and not enough buyers. I think the issue is, and has been for a long time, product. That really cannot be overstated. Do we have the product? Do we have the homes that people want to buy? Just because somebody puts their home on the market doesn't make it desirable. And that's really the thing that no one's talking about is the product out there a product that buyers want to buy?
Okay, other thing to look at this chart. They show that from sometime in 2023 until today, the number of sellers has just kept climbing like homes on the market list. Okay, well, guess who keeps that data? Federal Reserve. Here's the number from the Federal Reserve. This is the actual housing inventory, active listing count in the U.S. It does get this data from Realtor Association, so it's everything listed in MLSs. Okay, as you can see, we are still less than we were before 2020, with far fewer homes for sale than we did. That number is BS. There are not 2 million houses. It's not been increasing. In almost all markets, the number of homes we had less homes in March than we had 6 months prior. You can see this chart in aggregate, which is showing the whole country, that in 2023, that followed the annual cycle. More homes available in the fall, less homes available in the spring. We're not saying we're not getting back to a normal market. We are getting back to a normal market, but there are not 1.9 million homes. The spread, first of all, their buyer numbers made up. They don't know how many buyers there are. I don't know what number they're using, but it's not accurate.
Okay, so I'm just going to make the point really easy. If we have more sellers than we have buyers, that means that the buyers that are out there would be jumping all over these homes and be able to negotiate rock bottom prices. If you're out there and you're a buyer, are you negotiating rock bottom prices? I think not. And that's really the main evidence is supply and demand. Clearly, the buyers out there are not having a field day and getting smoking deals because sellers have flexibility regarding what they're willing to do, and they do not have to take lowball offers.
Here's another thing. Redfin, we just covered this in the last article. Their estimate for 2025 is home price will fall 1%. Mm-hmm. So how can they say home price will fall 1%, but it's just brutal out there for sellers? Well, if it's brutal, home prices should fall 10 or 20%. So 1% down is a brutal market.
1% down is within the margin of error.
It's within the margin of error. Here's another thing. This is from the article. Listed homes are spending more time on the market than they have in years.
Okay, that's fine, because what did we just hear?
5 years.
What did we just hear? That, oh, well, it shouldn't take longer than a weekend to sell a home. I'm sorry. If it takes longer than a weekend to sell a home, that doesn't make it a buyer's market.
It says years, and then it says about 44% of home listings in April have been on the market for 60 days and longer, the highest share for that month in 5 years. So what that means is homes are selling faster today than they were in 2019, mm-hmm. right? Because they would have said 6 years. But obviously, they can only go back 5 years. If they go back 6 years to 2019, which was a normal market. So we're transitioning to a normal market. Redfin needs to get clicks. I don't know. Maybe their business is not doing that great. Redfin's I don't think has ever made money. Is it tech? They lost billions of dollars. Remember, they were flipping houses, doing all this crazy stuff. Maybe they're going to try to make money being Crash Bros. I don't know. But when you read the article, it's pretty clear. They cherry-picked anecdotal information to paint a picture. They've made up numbers of sellers, numbers of buyers. They're trying to paint a picture worse than it is. Of course, they're not using markets that are meaningful. They're just cherry-picking markets that are maybe slower. They found some people who were, overpriced and reducing prices, which is what the Crash Bros all do. We're not seeing that in Vegas. It's not smoking hot like it was in 2021. Mm-hmm. Still a pretty good market. We still have less homes on the market today than we had in 2019 by far, which was our last normal market. Vegas is also substantially bigger than it was 6 years ago, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, so the bottom line is the market is still healthy. We are approaching pre-pandemic real estate practices and numbers and that sort of thing, and that's not a bad thing. Return to normalcy is a good thing for all of us. And remember, real estate is hyper-local. So whatever's happening in other places, whatever experiences other markets are having, that has nothing to do with your market. Your market is unique because real estate is hyper-local, and you see that just from neighborhood to neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are hot, some neighborhoods are not. So we do see that. Pay attention to what's happening in your neck of the woods, not necessarily what's happening far away from you where you have insufficient data to even make an informed opinion.
If you disagree and you think home prices can crash and you own a home in Vegas, please reach out to us so we can sell it as fast as possible. And then in a couple years, maybe if home prices crash 50% like people have predicted, then 3 years ago, they were supposed to have crashed 50% already. They're actually higher. Mm-hmm. Then you can buy the house back for half price later and put all the money in your pocket. So all you have to do is reach out to us. We will happily sell your home. We don't care if you buy a house. If you sell your home, though, we'll list it and we'll help you out with that. And it will save you from the upcoming housing crash.
There you go.
And I don't know the home prices. I mean, I think the next year or two are going to be pretty moderated, up and down, bouncing around, trying to figure out, wait for interest rates to go down. I think it's going to be interesting, but it's not dire. It's not dire in most of the country. There's probably some markets where there's certainly some softness.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But overall, the picture looks pretty stable.
If you have under a 3% interest rate, they don't sell the house. That'd be dumb.
Well, it's not necessarily dumb depending on your situation.
Yeah.
So I disagree.
Okay.
Regardless, real estate is hyper-local. Pay attention to what's happening in your market. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, leave us your real estate related comments, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.